the video starts now! Hello guys, it's Nick from Kicking Goals, and in this video today I'm going to review all the trades that happened in the AFL Trade Period for 2024. So let's get underway. So the first deal that happened in the trade period was Elliot Hindelberg got traded to the Gold Coast Suns. This was a weird trade, but hopefully it works out for Hindelberg. Now the second trade that happened was Harry Perryman got traded to Collingwood. That could be a handy pickup for Collingwood. So the third trade period was Tom Campbell. Tom Campbell got traded to the Melbourne Demons. Previously with the Western Bulldogs, previously with the North Melbourne Kangaroos, previously with the St Kilda Saints, now with the Melbourne Demons, as Jason Collectibles would say. So the next trade that happened in the trade period was Josh Battle. He got traded to the Hawks. He was the fourth trade that happened, and this was on day 2 on the trade period. Now the fifth trade that happened was Nick Haynes got traded to Carlton on a 1-year deal, and I'm quite happy with this because he's a really good interceptor. He came from GWS and I watched his highlights, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing him play for us next year. Now the next deal that happened in the trade period was Isaac Cumming. He got traded to the Adelaide Crows. I reckon he'll be good at the Adelaide Crows. So Adelaide did well there. And the deal after that was Alex Neil-Bullen also got traded to the Adelaide Crows. And he's a really good player as well, coming from the Demons. So the next trade that happened in the trade period was Jack Darling got traded to North Melbourne. This was unexpected. I mean, he's getting on with age, but this was a bit of a shock for me when I found that out, when he was going to North Melbourne. And West Coast get pick 67 in the end. Now the next trade that happened in the trade period was Jack Graham got traded to the West Coast Eagles. I reckon West Coast did really well there because he can be a good player. Now the next trade that happened in the trade period is involving 3 clubs in West Coast, Richmond and Carlton. So West Coast get Matt Owies, Liam Baker, pick 12 and pick 73. West Coast did really well there. Richmond got pick 14 and Carlton received pick 3, 63 and 68. But Carlton, I reckon Carlton won that trade there because we got pick 3 and I'm quite happy with that. So we could get a young star like Sam Walsh or something to add to our midfield after we lost Matt Kennedy. But I'll talk about Matt Kennedy later in the video. So let's get on to the next trade. So now, this next trade here is also involving 3 clubs in Port Adelaide, Collingwood and Gold Coast. Port Adelaide received Jack Lukosius, Joe Richards, Rory Atkins, pick 13, 29 and 36. So Port Adelaide got a fair bit in that trade. Collingwood received Dan Houston, which is massive because he's a multiple All-Australian winner. And also they received pick 58. Collingwood did. Gold Coast. They received John Noble, pick 39, future first round pick tied to Port Adelaide, and a future first round pick tied to Collingwood. Now the next deal that happened was Harry Sharp got traded to the Demons. He's a decent young player, so that could be a good get for Melbourne. Hopefully he plays well for him. Now this is a big trade that happened. One of the biggest trades happened in the off-season. Shai Bolton got traded to Fremantle. That's big for Fremantle. But it's a big loss for Richmond. And it only gets worse for Richmond here with Daniel Rioli getting traded to the Gold Coast Suns, joining Damien Hardwick again, his old coach. So they're going to be reuniting at the Gold Coast. Alright, another player that the Adelaide Crows got was James Peating. That was the next deal that happened in the trade period. Now we've got a Premiership Bulldog that got transferred to North Melbourne, and it's Caleb Daniel. That was a surprise as well. Although he wasn't getting much game time this year. He was a sub a lot of the time, so he might get more game time at the Kangaroos. So that's a good get for Kangaroos. And this is huge as well. They also received 2012 Premiership player Luke Parker from the Sydney Swans. North Melbourne did. Luke Parker's a really good player. He's getting on with age, but he'll be good for maybe a year or two, depending how long they need him there. And another player that also went to North Melbourne, a young player, in fact, Jacob Cosenti, who was also from the Sydney Swans. So North Melbourne are doing really well in this trade period. Hawthorn receives Tom Barrass, coming from the West Coast Eagles. He's a Premiership player from 2018, and he can be a handy backman supporting James Sicily and a couple of other young players in the back line. And who knows how far Hawthorn can go in season 2025. They could make top 4 maybe. Now this is one of the final trades that happened in the trade period, in the dying seconds. This player apparently wasn't going to go, but then in the last second or so he got traded, and it's Jake Stringer. He got traded to GWS, and he's going to play for a third club now. So he got traded to the GWS Giants, and he's probably going to support Toby Green and Jesse Hogan in the forward line. It's going to be weird seeing him in GWS colours next year, but we'll see what happens with him, I guess. Now we've got one last trade that happened in the dying seconds, and it involves 4 teams: Geelong, St Kilda, Western Bulldogs and Carlton. Geelong receives Bailey Smith and pick 45. St Kilda receives Jack McRae. The Western Bulldogs receive Matt Kennedy and pick 17. And Carlton receives pick 38. And while we're on the topic on talking about this trade, I want to talk a bit about Bailey Smith and tell you a bit about him. Smith grew up in East Melbourne, which is a suburb in Melbourne. In 2018, he was the captain of Xavier College's first 18 footy team, as well as the Sandringham Dragons for the season. Also in 2018, he was also selected to play for Vic Metro in the AFL Under 18 Championships. And he also finished 4th in the 2019 Rising Star Award as well. And also in 2019, he was named as the Chris Grant Best First Year Player for the Doggies. He got the Best First Year Player award for being the best first year player. And his nickname was Basilinka. What a weird nickname that is. Who names himself Basilinka? That's just unheard of. He's 23 years of age. He has plenty left to offer for the AFL. And he's also 185 centimetres tall. And he was picked number 7 in the 2018 draft and made his debut in round 1 2019. But then he got traded recently to Geelong. But Hawthorn wanted him also. He was a Hawthorn supporter growing up, but he nominated Geelong as his preferred club. And I'll explain to you guys why shortly. He was out for the whole entire 2024 due to an ACL. He had a really bad 2023 due to form. There were plenty of other midfielders that were better than him as well. He's only 23 years old, as I said before, and he's really fast. He can show really good speedness when he plays football. Maybe he wants the big crowds and prime time attention that a Melbourne club can offer. He obviously enjoys being in the spotlight. He loves showing off in the media. Like, he spent his first 6 years at the Western Bulldogs, and he has the most Instagram followers by an AFL player with over 364,000. I mean, that's unheard of. I mean, so he's really popular on social media, especially Instagram. In June 2022, Smith was caught on video hiding a bag of cocaine at a party. He admitted to processing a liquid bag and received a 2-match suspension. But I'm sure he learnt his lesson since then. Now, Smith, he also launched an alcoholic drink line called Barry. It is owned by Smith along with Charlie Curnow, Reece Walsh and Josh and Nick Dacos. So he teamed up with those other 4 people and they all own it. And one last thing with Bailey Smith. He was a brand ambassador for Cotton On. And he works for Monster Energy Drinks, McDonald's Australia, Stuff That Matters Most, deodorant. And in 2023, Smith began to study a Bachelor of Business. So now the next thing I want to talk about is, why did Carlton get rid of Kennedy, Owies and Martin, which is Jack Martin? We'll start with the Matt Kennedy story. Matt Kennedy, well, he's a really good player and he didn't want to leave Carlton, but he basically got forced out of there by Carlton itself. What are Carlton thinking? And in the last second of the trade period, he goes to the Western Bulldogs. It's not Matt Kennedy's fault, it's Carlton's fault itself. But now there's nothing we can do about it. We'll have to wish him all the best at the Bulldogs. And with Matt Owies, well, man, Matt Owies, he was an up and down player, especially the last few years. He'd always make me frustrated and pissed off when he makes a mistake, and he's so lazy at the ball. Even though this year he had his best year in goals wise. He kicked 33 goals. But he could have kicked more goals maybe. And he didn't even want to leave Carlton either, Matt Owies. Because Carlton wouldn't offer him another contract. So he got traded to the West Coast Eagles on a 3-year contract. And with Jack Martin, well, he got delisted, and in the free agency, he's going to probably go to Geelong when the free agency starts. Now, before I wrap things up, I want to ask you guys, what are your thoughts on the trade period? Who is the biggest talk in the trade period? For me, it's Bailey Smith. He went to Geelong, and he's a really good player. And now the last thing that I want to talk about is, what are your thoughts on the trade period? Who was the biggest move of the trade period? Was it Bailey Smith? Was it Dan Houston? Was it Luke Parker? For me, it's one of those, and it's Bailey Smith. Because he's a underrated player. He'll be coming back from an ACL, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes at Geelong next year, if he plays next year. I'm sure he will, but we'll have to wait and see. Only time can tell. So, thank you all for watching this video, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next video. Catch you, guys.